ABC News live on Facebook, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We're also live on GTV. I am George Sappo, welcoming you to today's edition of the Weekly Press Review, where we select stories that actually made headlines within this particular week, run with them, talk about them, and add more flesh to skeleton headlines. We get our guests seated, and then we'll get talking. So the usual drill, I'm going to start with the newspaper headlines for this particular week, for mainly two newspapers, the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times, after which we'll go for a break, and then when we return, I'll introduce our guests, then we'll start talking. Let's start off with the newspaper headlines that we have for you for this week, mainly for the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times. I am starting with that on the front page of the Daily Graphic for Thursday. The banner headline: Jospon secures $30 million for rice production. Green Ghana Day, June 9. Commission pledges to protect forest resources. NCA forensic audit to weed out fraudulent SIM registration. 6.17 million cards deactivated. 11.1 million cards more to go. And that's the one story we're looking at. The second story to us we're looking at is got to do with the Green Ghana Day. And then Parliament can compel EC to adopt guarantor system, and lawyers quoted. So that's on the front page of Thursday's edition of the Daily Graphic. And then we come to that of the Ghanaian Times for Thursday. The banner headline: NCA to block 11 million SIMs at the end of May 2023. And then Green Ghana Day targets planting 10 million trees nationwide. Vice President tours Austrian investors in Ghana. President nominates Justice Mrs. Tokonu as new Chief Justice. One story we'll be looking at when we start with our discussion. So that's it on the front page of Thursday's edition of the Ghanaian Times. And then we move to Wednesday's edition of the Daily Graphic. The banner headline: 22% of wage bill in wrong pockets. The Fair Wage and Salaries Commission is quoted here. Probe illegal mining allegations against appointees. The NDC to Parliament. Lifeline for non-professional teachers. NTC to issue emergency license. And then special supplement on Otumfuo's 24th coronation anniversary. So that's it on the front page of Wednesday's edition of the Daily Graphic. We move to that of the Ghanaian Times for Wednesday. The banner headline: effects of illegal mining on forest, native tree species in danger, face extinction due to destruction of natural regeneration. And then you also have police in court for killing girlfriend at Edum. Bolgatanga to host median May Day parade, which is coming off on Monday. Let's address growing insecurity in Gulf of Guinea, maritime space. The president is actually quoted there. And then Africa needs sustainable development-oriented people to transform the continent. So that's it on the front page of Wednesday's edition of the Ghanaian Times. We move to that of Tuesday for the Daily Graphic. The banner headline: Accra is well-booked capital selection catalyst for investment. The president is quoted here. Professor Frimpong Boateng, government officials in public brawl. 50,000 youth begin training and you start today. And then you have bust for rice production. Asian African Consortium, UCC, sign MOU. So that's it on the front page of Tuesday's edition of the Daily Graphic. We move to that of the Ghanaian Times for Tuesday with the banner headline: improving living conditions of Ghanaians. Government vows to do more. Vice President assures at Eid prayers. And then Asian African Consortium partners UCC to boost grain production in Ghana. Absorb cancer treatment cost nationwide. Dr. Saki appeals to government. And then police NABCOP for alleged fatal shooting of girlfriend. So that's it on the front page of Tuesday's edition of the Ghanaian Times. All right, so that's the newspaper headlines we have for you for this particular week. A couple of stories we'll be running with. One is got to do with the Galamsey issue. It's been running, and it's a story that will interest all of us. The second is got to do with the Green Ghana project. We'll talk about the SIM card deactivation, and then the nomination of Justice Tokonu as the new Chief Justice. The President has done that nomination to the Council of State, after which it will be sent to Parliament for the approval. This is a weekly press review. My name is George Sappo. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, I'll introduce introduce our guest, then we'll start talking. We'll be right back. I have Pargrave Wachidankwap, who is government spokesperson on governance and security. Pargrave, good morning.
Good morning.
How have you been?
God is helping me. It's good to see you, and it's good to be in your studios again. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a very long time.
Your Easter season was good.
It was okay.
Ramadan was good.
It was just okay. It was nothing so special, but it was just okay.
I'm doing well. I observed the Lenten season of fasting. I think I joined the Muslims as well. During Ramadan, especially the last 10 days, I did a donation at Lima because they are our neighbors. Yeah. There's a imam there, went to do some donation of sugar, milk, Lipton, and then rice during the Ramadan as is demanded for charity. And we are here today waiting for Pentecost, 50 days after Jesus' resurrection. I'm in no doubt that the outpouring of the Holy Spirit will help us and help this country.
You're looking good. I mean, you look trimmed. I don't know what you're doing different.
I've been seeking God's face, asking God for clearer directions and asking God for His major intervention, especially as we know that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and the world and they that dwell in it. When you get to certain stages and seasons, you can't hide your Bible under the bushel. You have to put it on top of the lamp so that it will bright shine for everyone to see.
Okay.
So,
Amen. Delavi, Paul, as a member of the NDC communication team, maybe we'll have another segment too from him. Don't mind me.
Well, George, I think God has been kind to us, not only as individuals, but I think Ghana as a country. We pray and ask God for more life. You remember the last time I was here, you took me through some way.
And
I received a couple of messages from people.
Oh, you did?
Some of the opinion that I need to improve upon my airway speaking stuff. Some also of the view that they think I did quite well. And like I said, I spent the Easter holiday in the Volta region. Like I alluded to the tourist potential of the Volta region, specifically, Keta and its environment. That is where I spend the Easter holiday.
I've seen that you have some nice beaches there.
Absolutely.
Nice resorts also
very
coming
beautiful,
up there. Very beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if you really want to appreciate nature, you just have to take the opportunity and visit Keta. And it's one of the reason why, honestly, I get a bit worried relative to what has actually dominated the media as far as the Galamsey issue is concerned. So it's been quite good.
Okay. But how's the NDC?
Oh, NDC is pretty good. We are in good shape. I mean, 13th May. We are electing our respective parliamentary candidates in all the 276 constituency, and also elect our flag bearer, which I believe every political watcher and even those who are not politically enlightened know for a fact that we have a presumptive leader in the name of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama heading into the 2024 election. And going around the country, I believe that if you watch some of the footage, it's obvious that indeed Ghanaians are yearning for the comeback of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's start with our first story. It's going to be on Galamsey. Some weeks ago, or would I say months ago, Gov't of GBC here, mainly of GBC News, had an interview with Professor Frimpong Boateng. It's got to do with one of her the programs that actually she hosts, which I think Legends of Our Time. And Professor Frimpong Boateng raised very interesting issues and made some allegations in that particular interview concerning the fight against Galamsey, of which he said that, well, since he left that position as the Minister for Technology, Science and Natural Resources, names have actually come up of those involved in Galamsey, and raises some allegations against they said the Jubilee House and the people in government and the NPP party. Subsequently, the president directed the CID to look into this particular matter and the issues raised by Professor Frimpong Boateng, after which it was a leaked report of a report that he put together to the Chief of Staff in 2021 concerning the fight against illegal mining and the happenings that surrounds it. And that particular leaked report has brought a lot of things to fore. Of course, people and names mentioned in that report have come out to deny it, of which subsequently Professor Frimpong Boateng has come out to stress that those people are actually, what he said in the report is something that he stands by. Names like the Information Minister was actually mentioned in the report. Names like the Director of Operations at the Jubilee House was also mentioned in the report. Names like Gov't Secretary that was also mentioned in the report. These are people who have actually come out to deny whatever was raised in the report. The presidency also issued a statement to that regard, describing whatever was in the report as grievances and hearsays, after which the NDC held a press conference calling on Parliament to also look into that whole issue. And it's a conversation that's been ongoing. All it's got to do with Galamsey and its effect. And if you've been watching Ghana television, the breakfast show, you get to see, and I'm sure you've even seen the state of our water, especially coming from River Pra, so bad. And a couple of conversations too, if you've been following social media, you realize that illegal mining is one thing that is really worrying us. And the revelations in that report has created mixed signals, those who want to believe what is in the report and those who do not want to believe in what's in the report. Paragraph, I'm starting with you on this when it comes to the fight against illegal mining and the Professor Frimpong Boateng leaked report and subsequent issues surrounding it.
George, a very good morning to you and to my colleague from the NDC and to your viewing public. I must say that I have chanced upon the report. I've been very deeply concerned with some allegations that have arisen from the report. Yesterday, the media team from the presidency had an opportunity to visit the Eastern region, particularly the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's home. I was concerned for two reasons. On security grounds, here we were in this country where the president's private home is being showcased and exposed to the viewing public. Pictures of the compound, pictures of the house. From my little background in security, I think that it's unhealthy and it's inappropriate. But why has it become so? It's become so because an allegation has been made. And the allegation is an extremely false allegation. It's false, it's a palpable lie, and it should not be perpetrated by any person in any state or form. That the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's home is a home that is mining galamsey. That the neighbors around the home are also mining galamsey. The environment of the president's home in Chebi is a tarred road. There is no muddy water there. There is no sign of any excavator ever coming there. There is no sign of any champagne coming there. There is no sign of people who are involved in illegal mining trooping in and out over the years of the existence of the home. And to be fair, this is a home that belongs to the mom who lived there, who grew there, who established the family there, and the president abodes in that home anytime he comes to the village. And so my concern is that we have had to move to this stage in trying to find out the truth. I don't know Professor Frimpong Boateng personally, but I know that he's a member of the New Patriotic Party. I know that he's a senior citizen of extreme respect. But I'm concerned that an allegation of this sort would come against the sitting president of the Republic of Ghana. George, I have sought to say that the manner in which we are gradually, over the years, denigrating the seat of government, either ruling or not, is not helpful as a model for posterity to learn from. I am excited and particularly interested in the letter that has been written from the office of the president to Al Jazeera for them to retract and make an apology of an investigative video that has no linkage whatsoever to President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And to be fair, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has been out of private practice well over 23 years and counting. It is sad to see that a news media of that repute and integrity and proof and years of excellence would want to drag our country's president into such a conversation. And I think that the entire country should be very, very concerned that increasingly that seat of government and that seat of presidency is continually being drawn into acts of unprecedented manners, which is inappropriate and inaccurate. On the report, there are claims of Gabi Asare-Okyere-Darko calling the minister responsible for science and environment, asking for his client, who has legal documents to mine. And so, Mr. Asare-Okyere-Darko's name is mentioned in the report, and people who do not read as such might think that Gabi is involved in illegal mining. Gabi, for the greatest part of his life, is not even a part of this government, has no political appointment in this government. To be fair, a very senior and respected member of the New Patriotic Party, which is the ruling political party, and a private legal practitioner. Now, George, you are aware that in this country, when you take responsibility to get into public office, the onus lies on you for any Ghanaian citizen to call you for clarification. I don't think that Gabi has erred in any way by calling the minister responsible for science and environment to bring clarity to a matter that he holds in hand and proof of the fact that this client of his has legal documents, and how it is purported to a different and an entire narrative that drags Mr. Asare-Okyere-Darko's name into such a conversation.
That's where Professor Bombati said that he could have called the Minerals Commission rather than calling him.
Anybody can call anybody. I sit here, I can make a call to any single person in this country. As long as you are involved in public office, George, you have no limitations as to who calls you and who does not call you. I sit here, I'm a nobody for now. My number is everywhere. Well, I'm just trying to, you know, even be modest in the description.
Okay.
Okay. That anybody can call me. And there's never a time anyone has called me and I've said, where did you get my number from? Because that question from the very beginning does not matter. I have put myself out to be of public good and public service. Anybody that calls me, I must respond to the person, which is why our government has set in place the RTI. The RTI is there for anyone to go and request for any factual document of public interest to acquaint themselves with. And I think that you would have a very extreme, elevated view of yourself if you think that people cannot call you. I think that anybody who holds himself in public office should be called anytime. And I think that that culture of people calling you and you not picking up and people wanting to reach you and you not being accessible, I think that is not a sign of great leadership. And even with that, this is not an issue you are discussing.
Yes.
But let me bring it in. I've been following the school feeding conversation. I've been deeply worried and troubled and concerned.
About what?
Well, about the reactions of certain people in government.
How?
Yes. The school feeding people have stated that even the minister responsible for gender has not met them. George, do you think that is appropriate? That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for you to be given a leadership responsibility over a sector ministry and you are not meeting the people you are working for. Why are you in government? So I am a member of government. I condemn the minister for gender. If she has not met the people, she needs to meet them. I saw video footages of the Ashanti regional minister. Do you think that is an appropriate leadership style? That is not an appropriate leadership style. That you put yourself in such gestures of sending the people away. It's a difficult position to be in government. Don't worsen it by bad attitudes. It's as simple as that. I think that you don't need to worsen it by bad attitudes. And so no one should have an elevated view of themselves.
you don't need to have an elevated view of yourself. You need to reposition your mind and reposition your view of how you think. Because you see, George, we are going into a major election. The NDC is going into a major primaries to select their leader. We are going to do likewise. We will come to the Ghanaian people and ask for them to vote for us. Not every single person can go to parliament. Not every single person can become president. We can only have one president at a time. We can only have one parliamentarian at a time. So when you go to plead to the Ghanaian people to vote for you, I think that you owe the Ghanaian people a highest level of respect to be of good attitude and good value behavior.
I agree.
If you do not uphold to that, and I think that the Ghanaian people should call it out. I listened to the conversation of the school feeding program, and I was hurt that market women, people that are feeding our children, who are struggling to feed our children at 97, 98 pesos, and you know, I pay close to about 4,000 Ghana cedis for my children to be fed in school.
4,000?
Privately, yes, for the whole term. And the food that the children eat in the school they go to, it's not 98 pesos.
Yeah.
And so if government is wanting to step in with a policy and try to intervene in that manner, I think that you owe it as an appropriate behavior to behave well. And if you don't behave well, I think we should call you out. Because we don't want leaders, I don't want to have leaders who are extremely proud, arrogant, who do not disregard human beings.
Let's get back to the mining.
Back to the mining. Dr. Professor Frimpong Boateng, I think his allegations are uncalled for. The media people from the presidency went to Chebi. They met with the king of Chebi, Berima Mafo, Sir Berima Mafo. They joined them to go to the president's home. There is no sign of any illegal mining happening there.
The report was in 2021.
In 2021, it means that we have the president's house has been mined and cleaned up.
I'm just saying that the report was in 2021.
I'm just saying that I come from the region. I come from the eastern region. I know what happens in the region. I know that the president is not involved in illegal mining. I know that the president's home is not used. The report said that the president's home is used for illegal mining.
It is garden, yes.
Come on. That's the greatest apology. I think that Professor Frimpong Boateng should retract and apologize to the president. For the personality and integrity of the president, Professor Frimpong Boateng should not take the president's name in that regard. I will stand up for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on every single day, as far as my eyes can see, evidential truth that the president's home is not used for illegal mining. You can go there. I can take you there. I go there every time when I go to the village. And the names that have been called for, the Honorable Minister for Information, my own boss, the Honorable Kojo Ponkroma, has come to bring clarity to the meeting that was held that he was invited for. Prem Park invited him for a meeting and brought clarity to the issue that he didn't do any hidden meeting to juxtapose that he wants to bring down your name and repute and reportage. As I sit here, I'm the one doing the conversation. What I say, I'm responsible for it.
Yes.
The Minister of Nkrumah said that it is the Professor Frimpong Boateng who granted interviews and by himself voluntarily gave this information out. And it is the responsibility of a cabinet minister like the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah to bring the president on matters that are happening in the country. And so if we have gone for, like the way I'm sitting here, and we are having a meeting, I've told you that I'm not happy with how the school feeding people are talking.
Yes.
If I meet the president, or when I meet the president, and I tell the president that I think that the approach and posture of the Minister for Gender, and I think that the approach and posture for the Minister for Ashanti Region does not purport well in our governance structure, so call them and have a conversation for. Does that mean that I'm trying to bring their names down? I am not interested in becoming a Minister for Gender. Neither am I interested in becoming an Ashanti Regional Minister. I am interested in the Ghanaian people that have voted us into power. I'm interested in the Ghanaian people who are supposed to even retain a political party as a better alternative in 2024. And so if there are things that are being done that does not purport well in our interest and focus governance, I think that I owe it to my intellectual ability and my appropriate upbringing to call it out. Does that mean I'm calling for somebody's job? So I think that the Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, the interministerial report, it's a report that must be fact-checked.
Okay.
I think it should be verified. I think that gradually the Ghanaian people are coming to light to see the truth and the veracity of the claims that have been made. And I think that when those claims are made and the truth comes out, people should have the boldness to apologize. We were in this country when a report says that some children are sleeping in bathrooms in the northern region.
Yes, Tamale.
In
college.
And the people who, the former minority leader went to the place and stated that this is an old structure that has been there. When school vacates, the children park their chop boxes and trunks and everything there. And sometimes when there's lights out, the students go there to study. Somebody who might have done a research and gone through and might not have had the context of it, blows it out of proportion. To date, the person has not come to apologize. And I think that we need to be very careful. Look, it's here in one of the newspapers when I saw, I think, Media Commission or so. Yes, this is Yabuabin Ayebuafu saying that Ghana's media. Yes, it says Ghana's media needs help and urgently too. I've not read the context of the story, but clearly, every single information that comes out, especially in the social media age, needs to be verified before we jump out into attacking people.
Media stuff like that, and they talk about the media as in the traditional ones that we have, and then for that matter, journalists and all that. I cringe a bit because now we have social media. Anybody can put anything out there. I was trying to find out whether the gentleman who did that Tamale story is a journalist, and actually yet to actually come to that conclusion that he's a journalist. But anybody can put any information out there. So sometimes that's the little challenge I have when all of these things are just put together as the media. You know?
Yeah, which is why the system and the various avenues must work, because you see the media is a very powerful tool.
Extremely powerful.
In these times of digitalization, social media has become the biggest world. It's where the society meets. You can have an individual whose following is more than the population of a country, and so it's extremely influential and extremely important. But I think that as we move ahead as a matured country, we should separate allegations that do not hold matter and substance, and not make political credit out of it. So the Professor Frimpong Boateng should come out very clearly and state that, look, some of the things in the report might have been too extreme, because you see, what's the purpose of a report? The purpose of a report is that people have gone on ground, they've heard things.
Yes.
There are things that you might have heard that might not be good, substantiated very well and evidential enough. So you, as a minister who is the head of the interministerial team, you need to do further checks. So the fact that you have published a report does not make it true.
Oh, really?
Of course. The fact that you have
ahead of such a committee.
The fact, that is what I'm telling you. The fact that you have published the report does not make the entirety of the content of the report true and accurate. There are some factions that may take time for us to verify the truth. And it's been very clear that the president's home, ever since the building was built, ever since Chebi was formed, has never been used as a site for illegal mining.
Okay. But again, this report was prepared in 2021. So let's just...
No, the report,
challenge here is
the report could have even been prepared in 1875.
Okay.
The home of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that his mother lived in ever since Ghana was found and formed, then Gold Coast, has never been used for illegal mining. You can't even find mines on the floor to even decide that you are going to use for illegal mining.
Wrap up for me. I'll come back to you later. Let me move to Deladi. Burning issues, illegal mining, Professor Boateng's report and all that.
I have had the opportunity to go through the report.
Yes.
And I have listened to Professor Frimpong Boateng when Kwaku Baako sent him a message when the report got leaked. And I asked him, it was actually a WhatsApp message, and asked him whether he has read excerpts of what is supposed or purported to be a report that was authored by him. And for that matter, he wants to validate whether indeed he is the author of that report. And Professor Frimpong Boateng responded with a message and said, indeed, every single statement captured in that report It's something that is emanating from him. He takes responsibility for that report, every word in that report. So the fact has been established that indeed the report that we are all discussing today is a report that was authored by Professor Frimpong Boateng, former Minister for Land and Natural Resources, a renowned cardiologist, who happens to be one of the first black man, we are told, did first heart transplant. So that has been established
in the world, actually.
The fact of the matter is, on the 4th of March, 2018, as I have here, this was inserted in the report, confidential. This was a decision that was took during a cabinet meeting. And this was signed by the cabinet, secretary to the cabinet, Madam Mercy Deborah Karikari. When all the cabinet met and they took a decision owing to the devastating nature of our water bodies, that indeed they are going to suspend, whether you are into illegal mining, whether you are into legal mining, all of you must suspend legal activities for a period of 6 months. After that particular period, that period was extended for another 6 months. So this was a decision that was taken during a cabinet meeting. Professor Frimpong Boateng, it must also be emphasized that he did not just sit down and wrote the reports. In fact, this is another letter coming from the presidency. This was signed by H.M. Wood, Acting Chief Director for the Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, Madam Frima Opare, demanding from Professor Frimpong Boateng the reports. So it was coming from the Chief of Staff on behalf of the President of the Republic of Ghana that we want you to submit a report as far as the IIegal, the Interministerial Committee, and what they call committee, that was established to deal with illegal mining, that is called Gov't.
Yes.
And this letter was written 17 February 2021. And when my brother was talking, the impression was created that as if Professor Frimpong Boateng was up to some kind of a mischief. When you read the report, detailed, I feel very sad for this country.
Why?
When we were all growing up, we were told that water is life. When the National Communication Officer of the NDC, Lawyer Sammy Jennifer, took journalists to Chufupraso, when he addressed the good people of this country and showed them evidence relative to how our water bodies have been devastated, how our water bodies have been destroyed, to the extent that even people living within that particular environment find it difficult to drink that particular water. The journalists saw it. Just this Tuesday or Wednesday, Lawyer Sammy Jennifer organized another press conference. That was 2020, 3 years later. When you see the current state of River Pra, it's worse than the very day Lawyer Sammy Jennifer took journalists to Chufupraso and organized a press conference. The only reason why the water is worse than the very day that Lawyer Sammy Jennifer organized a press conference is because the very individuals, the very government that we have elected to ensure that our water bodies are being protected, are they themselves complicit when it comes to the Galamsey business. Before the leaking of this report that we are all reading, there was a video that Professor Frimpong Boateng, Ekowusi, and Ekowusi admitted in that video that in fact the then CEO of the NPP, John Juwoju, have actually sent a communique that the party need money, and for that matter, the only way they'll be able to raise money for the party is for the party to engage in Galamsey activities. This is not according to me. This was captured in that particular video. So, to collaborate what was confessed in that particular video, when you read this report, Professor Frimpong Boateng is telling the good people of this country that during my tenure as the chairman of the Interministerial Committee that was established to ensure that our environment is being protected, there's one thing that I discovered. That when you look at the NPP as a political entity, right there from the polling station I'm talking about those who are occupying position at the polling station within the structure of the MPP, to the constituency, to the region, and even to the national level. There are individuals who are involved in galamsey activities. This is not according to me. This is Professor Frimpong Boateng referencing a political party that at every structure of that political party, the ruling party, there are individuals who are actively involved in galamsey business. He went ahead to make reference to certain individuals who are so mighty and powerful within this particular regime that they are complicit when it comes to the galamsey activities. He made a specific reference with respect to Sir John. May his soul rest in perfect peace. He said at a point in time, he sat in the press conference room of the President of the Republic of Ghana with Sir John, the three of them. And he pointed to Sir John and told the President, His Excellency, if there's an individual who is part of your government who poses a greater threat when it comes to the responsibility that you have tasked me with in dealing with the galamsey menace, is the man sitting before you, Sir John. This is what Professor Frimpong Boateng said. That he told the President of the Republic of Ghana that the duty and the task that you have given to me, if there's one individual who has become more or less like an obstacle, an impediment to me fulfilling the task that you have given to me, is the very man that is sitting before you here, Sir John, who happened to be the Commissioner for Forestry, the CEO for Forestry. And he says Sir John has virtually given some of the reserve forest to Chinese galamsey kingpin to engage in illegal mining activities, using one of his prodigy, Charles Owusu, who happens to be the operating director of the Forestry Commission. Sir John, Professor Frimpong Boateng made those, admission to the President of the Republic of Ghana. George, until the untimely demise of Sir John, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo never deemed it necessary to make Sir John a subject of an investigation or showing Sir John the exit when such confession has been made by Professor Frimpong Boateng. He went further to make reference to the very man who is in charge of the President's security at the Flagstaff House, Captain Koda. And I could read it to you. This is what Professor Frimpong Boateng said. He said, this is what he said, about 2 years ago, the attention of the Inter-Ministerial Commission on Illegal Mining Task Force was drawn to a site that had been... Reading from the report. That had been...
What page is that?
That is page 29. I mean, you can go. He said, that had been degraded, and the tailing from there were directed in the Birim River near Enyim. The task force impounded 2 excavators and deposited them at the police station in Enyim. Frantic telephone calls were received from Captain Koda of the Presidential Security Detail, who asked for the excavators to be released. Third, issues about destroying our water bodies is a national security issue. The President is the chairman of the National Security Council. He is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. The very individual who is in charge of the President's security details right there at the presidency have been cited as somebody who was aiding people who were engaged in the galamsey activity. You have an instances where reference was made to Lord Comey, the Director of Operations at the Office of the President, in page 12 of the report. That Lord Comey, at a point in time, made a call calling on Professor Frimpong Boateng to release excavators that had been seized.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that you're aware that most of these people have come out to deny.
I am coming. I'll prove to you.
Okay.
He also made reference to Gov't. And I listened to my brother talking about the fact that Gov't does not hold any position in this government. George.
But he doesn't hold any position in the government. Yes.
You know what?
Yes, sir.
When it comes to the political architecture of this country or establishment anywhere in the world, in life, it's not about people who are influential. It's about people who influences those who are influential.
Okay.
So you see, ask any politician. George, you've been a journalist for many years. You know, when it comes to politics and those who are the movers and shakers, within political establishment are not those who hold political portfolios. They are the people who are so influential that they influence the very people who are influential in our society. That is the reason why, George, there are people who do not, they don't hold any political office in this country. But today, when they cough, it will make news. That is why when even you come to policy making, when it comes to public policy making, there are people who call them the state actors and non-state actors. Why do you think that people are so much interested in non-state actors who don't have the cohesive power of the states, but yet they wield so much influence? Nobody in this country would doubt the influence of Gov't when it comes to the establishment as far as the NPP is concerned. That is the reason why.
But he's not a member of the government anymore.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm telling you that is one of the reasons why. There are instances, Gov't position becomes so powerful than some of the positions of the minister. That is the only reason why Gov't can pick a phone and call Professor Frimpong Boateng and ask Professor Frimpong Boateng not to harass, not to go after individuals who are engaged in galamsey business. And I'll read a report to you. This is part of the report.
Yes.
This is signed by Dr. Tony Obin.
Yes.
Dr. Tony Obin was the chief executive of the Minerals Commission.
Minerals Commission, yes.
This was November 29, 2016. The very company Mr. Gov't is desperately trying to defend and create a certain impression in the right thinking, in the minds of the right thinking Ghanaians, that they were having legitimate licenses to mine. Dr. Tony Obin wrote to them and said, you do not have the licenses to mine. So what you are doing, you are engaged in illegal mining activities. He repeated the same letter. That was 30th January 2017. He wrote to the same company, Alaska, that belongs to what they call a Canadian, and one Ghanaian called Donald Etua. He wrote to them again and remind them about the fact that you are engaged in an activity that is illegal because you do not have legitimate license. Let's even assume that Dr. Tony Obin was appointed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and for that matter, people say, okay, we are engaged in certain political expediency or what have you not. You know Peter Amewu?
Yes.
He was the first minister.
First minister.
Exactly. This is Peter Amewu's letter. And he wrote this letter to the very company Gov't is trying to defend. So between Gov't
the company that's, according to Gov't, he called for clarification.
Exactly. So you have an instances that Dr. Tony Obin wrote to them in 2016. He wrote to them again in 2017 when the NPP was in power. The very minister that was appointed by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Peter Amewu, wrote to them once again, reminding them you have no any legal powers to mine in the forest because you have no licenses. So these are documentary evidence to validate the fact that indeed the people that Gov't was trying to defend, they were not mandated by law to engage in the very activities that they were engaging. So nobody can tell us that Gov't was placing a call to Professor Frimpong Boateng to demand for Professor Frimpong Boateng not to go after people who engage in illegal activity, because per this document, it has been proven that indeed the people that Gov't was defending, they do not have legal document to engage in mining activity, and that has been established. And let me come to this issue about the attempt to exonerate this issue, the president, from all this galamsey activity. George, who did Professor Frimpong Boateng submit this report? Is it not the chief of staff?
The chief of staff, yeah.
And this report was submitted in 2021. Is that not it? There's a gentleman mentioned in this report called Frank Esiedu McQueen, aka Protuzio, who happens to be the personal assistant of the chief of staff. When they submitted this report to the chief of staff, would you want to tell me that the chief of staff did not read this report? The chief of staff did not read this report. The individuals that were mentioned when the report was submitted in 2021 was the president not aware of it. And all of a sudden, there's this attempt that, let's say when it was mentioned in the report, like here, and let me read this thing out. That, and when they sent journalists to the president's house yesterday, it proved that indeed there has not been any illegal activities that happened there. That is palpable false. Because if you're a critical thinker and you connect the dots, it makes mockery And I feel a bit scandalized that even some journalists bought into this story.
Why?
Let me read what Professor Frimpong Boateng wrote in this report.
Okay.
That is 29. This is what he said.
Okay.
He said, the impunity in the Eastern region is exemplified by near unbelievable activity in Chibi. I had a telephone call from Mr. Eric MP of the Office of the President, and he narrated that the youth organizer of the NPP in Chibi was excavating for gold in a field close to the house of His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana. When we checked, it was indeed true. And listen to what he said. We quickly dispatched a bulldozer and an excavator to the area to reclaim the land and vegetate it.
Okay.
So what kind of analysis is it? The man is telling you, when they discovered that the youth organizer of the NPP, coming from the Buakwa South constituency, where the president hailed from, when they discovered that, they quickly moved in there, reclaimed the land, and vegetate it. And you expect that 2 years later, you were expecting that when you send journalists there, they will go and discover Galamsey pit. Is that what my brother is trying to tell us? Is that what the presidency is, the kind of impression that they are trying to play to the good people of this country? That after 3 years or 2 years, we are sending journalists there to validate whether indeed the president's backyard there was a Galamsey activities. After 2 years, when the minister in his report admitted that indeed we discovered something of that sort, but we quickly dispatched people there to reclaim the land and vegetate it.
Be wrapping up for me. Let's.
And you see, there's another interesting story. My brother was talking about the Al Jazeera thing.
Yeah.
You know, I have come to realize one thing, George. The NPP have employed certain skills when it comes to the scandals that have characterized this administration. It was evident when it comes to the PDS. It was evident when it comes to the attempted Ejapa deal. And it has become so crystal clear when it comes to this Galamsey thing. And when you connect it to this Alistair Matthias issues, I have here. This is what Al Jazeera wrote to Alistair relative to the documentary. And they asked certain simple questions. The same way Al Jazeera, like any media network, like GTV would do, when GTV discover that indeed there's a scandal, they give people the rights to listen to their side of the story. They contacted the presidency and the President of the Republic of Ghana. The President of the Republic of Ghana responded to the query by Al Jazeera. And you told them that you don't recollect. That's what you said. That one's inability not to recollect whether I've had an encounter with this individual cannot be that one has denied that he has had an encounter with an individual. And what Alistair is saying is this. He said, I have friendship with the President of the Republic of Ghana. The President of the Republic of Ghana, once upon a time, was my lawyer. And all of a sudden, the NPP people, our President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has not practiced for the past 20 years. Forgotten about the fact that even that particular is factually incorrect, it's inaccurate.
Why?
When the President was speaking in reference to Justice Yoni Kolendi, was speaking in reference to Gov't Adami, the current Attorney General.
Yes.
The President said one of the people that he has trained, his prodigy,
Yes.
he made reference to these individuals.
Yes.
You know when Gov't Adami was called to the bar? 2003. How do you reconcile this?
What's the point here?
The point is this.
Yes.
President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as in 2003, when Gov't Adami was called to the bar, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo was still in active service. And the mere fact that the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is not in active practice does not in any way suggest that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo cannot offer legal consultancy, cannot make recommendations. And it has been established that, in fact, 2014, when Alistair was arrested and was facing criminal prosecution, the man that defended Alistair was the current Supreme Court judge, Justice Yoni Kolendi.
Okay.
2014.
But I hope you're also aware of the President's letter to Al Jazeera.
Come on, it's a mockery, it's a comical.
For them to retract and apologize.
No. Yeah, okay, so why didn't the President write to announce to retract and apologize?
For what?
For the 12, what do you call it, the expose relative to Nyantichi. That he Nyantichi knew that the President, when he wants to choose the President, this is what he must do. What did you cite an instance where the President write to what do you call announce to retract? I'm asking you, did you cite any letter written by the president asking us to retract and apologize? This is mockery. This is comical relief.
Nyantechi was actually relieved of his position, setting the president directed the CID to actually...
Relieved of his position by who?
The president directed the CID to actually...
But it wasn't the president that relieved Kwesi Nyantechi of his post.
It wasn't the president, but the president directed the CID to investigate the matter.
And what has happened in respect to that? Why is the president not sending this?
Well, and actually, just for you to know, an action was taken by the president because the name was mentioned. The president took an action.
And in wrapping up, let me show you something. The senior minister.
Yes.
The senior minister of the Republic of Ghana.
Yes.
I have with me here. This is a statement. You know Setmanti?
No, who said Setmanti?
Whose name was mentioned by Ekowawusi.
Oh, okay.
And John, what do you call it, Commando, who happens to be the Central Regional Security Coordinator. This is a statement written by Setmanti at the police CID headquarters when he was arrested. When Professor Frimpong Boateng reported him, he admitted that the proceeds from the sales of Galamsey, the monies were deposited in his account.
In whose account?
In his account,
Setmanti's account.
And that was upon the instruction coming from Ekowawusi and the former Central Regional Security Coordinator. This is a report. A statement he wrote at the police CID headquarters.
These are all in the reports that we from actually.
You said it.
Okay.
And now, you know what Professor Frimpong what he said?
Yes.
He said the senior minister told him that he should not go after Setmanti because Setmanti happens to be his boy. So you see, George, in wrapping up, when you are fighting against a menace, when you are fighting against a canker that continuously devastates our environment, and you have people right there at the presidency, people closer to the president, people closer to the chief of staff, the senior minister, political appointees, you have an instances where political parties have adopted this as a policy per the instruction coming from John Bodu at that time. When we talk about fighting against Galamsey, we will not be doing justice to the good people of this country when the very people who have been entrusted with power they themselves are deeply involved in the Galamsey menace.
Okay.
And that is one of the reasons why I'm saying that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's look at the way forward. Padre, I'll start with you on this. What can we actually do to really stop this whole Galamsey issue? The distraction is just too bad. Yesterday I spoke to a researcher who did some work within these mining communities, and the mercury alone and its effect on the human body is so bad, and it stays in the soil and it stays in the water for centuries. The way forward and looking at for solutions. Padre.
Joe, thank you very much. You know that our government, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is the only president that has sought to bring solutions to Galamsey.
That's the only president that has sought to bring solutions to Galamsey?
Very much. In terms of the posture, the attitude, the investment, and the policy directive.
What has been the results?
We've brought mercury-free machines into this country. We've given it to most especially small-scale miners so that they don't destroy water bodies. That's an initiative of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It didn't used to be there. When you go to mining sites today, as I speak to you, you will find mercury-free machines that are working.
So how come the rivers are polluted?
Number two, yes.
So how come the rivers are still polluted?
No, but you see, George, I'm talking about solutions.
Yes. And you said that when you go there today,
when you go today, you will find mercury-free machines.
I'm asking, so how come the rivers are still polluted?
You see, the pollution of the water bodies has been there for years.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. The pollution of the water, you are not aware of that?
Has been there for years.
As far as I'm concerned, I know that our government's efforts.
If there have been mercury machines, we shouldn't see the pollution now as we're seeing.
The mercury machines have been in the country in less than 2 years now. I think it came about 2021.
There's a picture already that GTV took. The Breakfast Show people took. The state of the River Pra in 2022 and the state of the River Pra in 2023. 2023 is even worse.
Let me go to the solutions.
Okay, go to the solutions.
So we've brought mercury-free machines on these. We'll come to the water bodies and the pictures you people are taking. I will go to the river site and bring my own evidence.
Why you doubt those pictures?
Oh, well, I'll bring my evidence.
No, I mean, you doubt those
I haven't
pictures.
said so. I said I will bring my evidence. Is it not, all of these things we are doing, is it not a matter of evidence? It's evidence-based.
Yes.
So I'll bring my evidence.
All right. When are you going to do that?
Oh, very soon.
Okay.
I'm going to the constituency this weekend.
Okay.
You're aware of some things that are underground happening.
Yeah.
So, mercury-free machines have come that we have given to small-scale miners legally so that they stop the pollution of the water bodies. Number two, government has brought an alternative livelihood program. People that are involved in illegal mining are young people who live in these communities who do not have an alternative livelihood program. The government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has made that a possibility as I speak to you today. There's an alternative livelihood program where young people are integrated into programs and activities to ensure that they have a better life. Number three, there is an excessive drive to reclaim lands that have been destroyed over the years. Land sites have been reclaimed as I speak to you today. Land sites in the western region, the northern part, Savannah, Bono, eastern region, land sites have been reclaimed in the thousands of hectares as I speak to you today.
Okay.
Number four, government has sought to seek that the doorstep of illegal mining rests at the behest of the custodians of the land.
Okay.
And who are the custodians of the land? Our chiefs.
Our chiefs.
Our government has had continuous meetings with the House of Chiefs and the representatives of the House of Chiefs in this country. And there are efforts from the chiefs to ensure that their communities and their towns are not used to perpetuate illegal mining.
All right. So let's
The
just
Asante Yotufor Oseitutu, who celebrated 24 years of kinship this week, has restated that the Asante man should not be used as sites for illegal mining.
Right. I mean, with this,
the same with Asante as well. Has stated very clearly.
4 examples you've given, the objective is to at least get rid of illegal mining.
There's a fifth one.
What's the fifth one?
The fifth one is that our government has empowered the Ghana Armed Forces to decommission all excavators on illegal mining sites.
Okay, so as we speak, all these measures you've talked about, has it actually achieved any kind of success?
100%.
100%.
100%.
So the water bodies are clean?
I haven't said the water bodies are clean.
People are not, you don't have illegal miners out there mining?
I said we do not have illegal mining.
But that's the whole objective.
No, the whole objective is to ensure that you bring an end to illegal mining progressively.
Has illegal mining been ended?
It's been reduced.
To what extent?
Oh, to a very high and large extent. You can go to the site now.
Oh, really?
There are military men on site every single time to ensure that no person perpetuates in illegal mining.
Now?
Of course. That has been ongoing. Operation Hall 2 has not come to an end as I speak to you. It's still ongoing. When the minister responsible for lands and natural resources, the hard-working Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapo, put in place that even him as minister cannot call the armed forces to stop decommissioning of excavators. And that order has come from the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. I have not seen, George, unless you have, you should tell me. I have not seen any precedent that has put the efforts of the stop of illegal mining on the line, either than President Nana Addo Dankwa.
I mean, we've all seen the state of our water bodies. That's for me, is the objective. We can put in measures whatsoever, but if there's not been any improvement, if there's not been any change, then the simple question is that what was the use of the measures we put in place then? Because if the water bodies are still polluted, people are still out there mining. So what then? I mean, you talked about alternative livelihood. How many of such people actually enjoyed such? Have they not got back into mining?
No, they haven't.
How sure are you with that?
Very sure. Because
illegal mining is still going on.
I speak continually with the coordinator.
Illegal mining is still going on.
You see, George, you need to look at the efforts holistically and appreciate that.
Yes.
You can have children who are naughty children. You speak to them. You put measures in place, checks and balances. You seize their phone. You tell their teachers to come in. But it doesn't mean that there will not be instances where your children will not be naughty. But it also does not mean that you are making stringent efforts to ensure that your children become disciplined. And so as a government, the measures that we have put in place, and George, I tell you, look, posterity will judge President Nana Akufo-Addo very well for his efforts against illegal mining in this country.
Okay.
For his forthrightness in ensuring that illegal mining becomes a thing of the past.
Okay.
And these policy directives, George, I can tell you, without a shadow of doubt. And I'm sure that the next time I come here, I'll bring excessive data on the alternative livelihood program. I'll bring the mercury-free machines. I'll bring all of that data for you to
talking
know.
about the research that we still even have mercury.
I
mean, all of these things you're talking about, but
these
the
water
challenges
bodies
are still there.
These water bodies that have been destroyed over the years is going to take a bit more time. Of course.
You know, in 2017 into 2019, when this whole fight against illegal mining started, which was championed by the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, and the measures were actually put in place, the water bodies actually returned to its natural state in terms of its clarity. Do you remember that?
Well, George, I'm not sure I can recall that immediately. My mind.
No, I'm just telling you, it did.
Okay.
But now it's gone back to that old polluted state. The turbidity is just so bad.
George, I will
Yes.
go and ascertain.
Okay, I hear. Let me move to the other. Delali, there's ways forward. We can just move to our next subject.
George, you see, the question is, I mean, we have entrusted people with power and authority to act on our behalf, especially when they realize that things are not really going well, consistent with the interest of the state. That is why people have been given that opportunity or that authority. Well, Judge, I am actually a bit unable to repose confidence in the current leadership of our country when it comes to fighting against the galamsey menace. You read the statement that emanated from the presidency.
Which one?
Relative to Professor Frimpong Boateng's
Responding to Professor Boateng's report, yes.
The presidency or the president is just saying that what the report entails is just an expression of grievances.
And hearsay.
And hearsay. And yet, the same expression of grievances and hearsay was directed to the CID to investigate. What kind of appropriate and reprobate is this?
What the president asked the CID to investigate was the interview that Professor Frimpong Boateng granted GBC and made allegations against people at the Jubilee House and the party,
I am saying
the NPP party that are involved in illegal
I am saying that
yes.
Whatever Professor Frimpong Boateng
yes.
said on GTV was just basically amplified what was captured in the reports. Because he made references to about, see, even in respect to GTV, he said there are certain individuals at the presidency who are engaged in calamity, is that not?
Yes.
But in the report, he was specific with respect to the names of the individuals who were engaged in calamity activity. So the president said when the reports came to him 2021, he didn't deem it necessary. That assuming even at that point in time, you still consider it to be a hearsay, an expression of grievance. Why didn't the President of the Republic of Ghana invited the CID and said, listen, people within my corridors, people within the presidency have been indicted, have been cited of their complicity as far as the galamsey menace is concerned. Can you subject them to an investigation and give me a report? And now once Professor Frimpong Boateng, the report has leaked, you are telling the good people of this country, well, is the CID, the police service, is it not under the executive? So when the president, the commander is in chief, he said, having averted myself to the report, I've come to the conclusion that it's just an expression of grievances and hearsay. George, with the greatest of respect, are we saying the present pronouncement, what was expressed in the statement that was coming from the president, will not have an impact as far as the CID investigation is concerned? So see, that is why I am saying that we have people that we have elected to steer the affairs of this country. Their actions and inactions continue to validate the reason why a lot of Ghanaians believe that President Nana Akufo-Addo is not committed when it comes to fighting the galamsey menace.
Right, solutions.
So in professing solutions with respect to how we'll be able to deal with this, the individuals mentioned in the reports, if the president really wants to demonstrate that indeed he's committed when it comes to fighting against the galamsey menace, these individuals by now either should be shown the exit, or the president should compel them to resign. If indeed the president wants to send a clear signal. Because you see, we are tired and sick of the empty rhetoric. God, you yourself, you are tired and sick of the empty rhetoric. Because the first time President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made a promise to the good people of this country that I, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I am dedicated and committed to put my presidency on the line. 2017, April. 2023, when the National Communication Officer of the NDC was organizing the press conference, showing evidence relative to the state of the water bodies, River Pra, Green River, and Cobra, that was Wednesday. It turns out that the situation has gone from bad to worse. So what is simply saying is there has not been an improvement. And per the report and what we have read from the report, it confirming that indeed there has not been that dedication and commitment that was amplified or expressed by the President of the Republic of Ghana. So to be able to convince Ghanaians that indeed President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is indeed committed and dedicated in fighting against the menace, it doesn't lie in the mouth of the president to say that, oh, this was just an expression of grievances and whatever. If something is an expression of grievances and whatever, you are simply discrediting the author of that report. Okay. Is that not what you are trying to do?
Okay.
So a president who has become more or less like a clarinet, anytime his appointees are involved in one scandal or the other, before even the state institution that is mandated to investigate it, the president in one way or the other make a certain statement. That's not to create the impression that I, the president, whatever allegation that has been made against my appointees, I don't believe in it.
Okay. All right.
So you cannot fight against the menace. We cannot sit down here and come out with solutions when the very man that we have elected to steer the affairs of this country, to ensure that the Galamsey menace is dealt with, he himself, by his pronouncements, by his actions and instances, so to create the impression he himself is complicit when it comes to the menace. And the president himself has become a problem that we are trying to solve.
Thank you, Delali. Thank you very much. Let's move to our next item. It's got to do with Green Ghana, and I'll pick this story on page 16 of Thursday's edition of the Daily Graphic. It's a Friday, June 9, has been set aside for Green Ghana Day 2023. The day has been set aside for the planting of various tree types and species ranging from ornamental to cash crop, among others too. The 2023 planting, which is the third consecutive edition of the National Climate Change Reversal Exercise, is targeted at planting 10 million trees across the country, and it was the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources who made this particular announcement. Now, the Green Ghana was established in 2021 by this government under the auspices of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources as part of aggressive afforestation and reforestation program to restore the country's lost forest cover. At the maiden edition, over 7 million seeds or trees were planted, exceeding the target of 5 million trees. Now, last year, over 24 million trees were planted, exceeding the 20 million tree target. Now, the downwards revision of the 10 million trees in this year's exercise, the Ministry explains that is meant to devote adequate resources and attention to the nurturing of over 23 million trees to increase the survival rate. And talking about the survival rate of it, the Minister said that while adequate measures had been put in place to ensure the survival of all trees planted, a number of external factors accounted to the survival rate, and they included rainfall pattern, wildfires, and soil fertility. He explained further. Some are also raising questions about this particular exercise, that what happened to the previous one, how many trees are still standing as we speak, and then we are actually running down our forests. How about that one too? Delali, I'm starting this stretch with you. Green Ghana Day.
Green Ghana, I mean, we are told when we were growing up, we were told that when the last tree dies,
last man dies.
Last man dies. So the fact of the matter is issue about the environment. In fact, it has become a global topical issue to the extent that I think in once in a while, world leaders, I mean, gathers and discuss about the environment and the extent to which our actions and inactions, our activities continue to deplete the ozone layer, which is having an adverse effect as far as global warming is concerned. I've always maintained the fact that pollution, they say, is localized, but the effect is global. So anytime you are engaged in an action, be mindful of the fact that your actions have the possibility of bringing a certain consequence on you that you may not be able to appreciate now, that this action of mine has a ripple effect when it comes to the negative futuristic what is on you. So sometimes we must be very careful. And I always said that, I recall 2019, when there was this issue about COVID recorded in China. You meet a couple of Ghanaians, and one of the things that they continue is, oh, if China have their own problem, they should deal with it. China is almost at 15,000 miles away from us. We don't care what is happening in China.
The world actually neglected China.
Exactly, because people didn't appreciate what I meant by it was a pollution in China. But we forgot about the fact that every pollution, the ripple effect, it's global. So fast forward in 2020, March thereof, we started wearing masks because we have recorded our first case. So what a simple tell us is this: when something is happening, when somebody is degrading the environment, somebody is messing up the environment, probably in the northern part of the country, and you are living in Accra, don't for 1 minute assume that you are insulated or you are immune from the repercussion as far as the destruction of the environment is concerned. This basically fits well into what we discussed earlier on, that we need to, as a country, come out with a certain punitive measures relative to individuals that engage in the destruction of the environment. Because you can't be talking about frantic efforts to ensure that greening Ghana basically means that protecting your vegetative environment or the vegetation. That is what it means. You cannot be a country that is so excited when you are destroying your environment, and yet you preach about greening Ghana. Because once you are destroying the very environment that is supposed to be the anchor upon which that manifestation of greening Ghana is built upon, then it means that you are engaging in what I call, you are interested in, much of a rhetoric, but when it comes to your actions, there's a little bit of inconsistency between your words and your action. Because if you are talking about a country that we're going to spend a lot of money, the World Bank spends a huge amount of money when it comes to reforestation. Because they are mindful of the fact that whenever there's a global warming, it doesn't only affect a particular country. It affects the entire world. And they appreciate the consequences of all these actions that have the tendency to destroy the ozone layer. So, as a country, I think that anytime, this is not the first time we are hearing this. There have been instances that students were even, educated students were even sent to go and plant trees and what have you. I remember at a point in time, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, he's one of the, may his soul rest in perfect peace, he's one of the strong advocates when it comes to protection of the environment. I've seen him instances when you are traveling to the Volta region, you meet the former president with kids around the Volta Lake, and you see how he's so passionate about the environment. We want to see leaders who, anytime they preach virtues relative to something that they want to commit the nation into, we don't want to see an instance where their actions and inactions portray a contrary view to what they are preaching. Because if you want to really ensure that Ghana has become green, then we should be mindful the kind of signal we are sending to our students. Because when a student look at the environment and realize that, okay, the president have a policy that, in fact, Ghana must become green, which basically has to do with the fact that planting of trees, how we don't indiscriminately cut trees. How do we, even at the heart of greening Ghana, it's about even the cost of gas that people used to cook. Because one of the reasons why people were educated that, okay, instead of charcoal, why don't you opt for gas? So if the gas itself is very expensive, then they will have no option than to go back to the traditional charcoal that they were using to cook their food. So at the heart of greening Ghana is to also ensure that all this cost relative to gas, people, the rate at which the prices of gas is going up and what have you, people don't see the excitement, they don't see that particular incentive to opt for it, rather than they will stick to their charcoal, the charcoal thing that they've been doing. So I believe that as a country, if we intend to really adopt this policy of greening Ghana, then leadership must show the way. Leadership must show the way by setting a certain standard where individuals caught in the destruction of the environment, whether in galamsey, whether cutting down of tree indiscriminately and what have you, must be dealt with according to the law. People must see that the leadership of this country are not mincing words when it comes to perpetrators of destruction of the environment. People must see that the president is walking the talk. The appointees are walking the talk. The MCs are walking the talk. People who have been entrusted with certain responsibilities when it comes to greening Ghana are walking the talk. Because you cannot be a minister, for instance, like I made reference to, a minister or a CEO of the Forestry Commission. What is the mandate of the Forestry Commission? It's to protect our forestry. Is that not it?
Yeah.
So when you have the very individual that is mandated by law, presiding over the Forestry Commission, he himself is actively participant when it comes to the destruction of the environment. Such an individual does not, exude confidence when it comes to the people trying to protect the environment. And one also has to do with the money that is being earmarked, because I know World Bank every year annually earmark an amount of money for countries when it comes to greening of environments and what have you. How do we use this money? How do we deploy these resources? Does it get to the very people who are deserving of this fund, this grant, when it comes to the greening of the environment? We must start taking certain accounts relative to how these monies have been used in the past. Have we been able to achieve the ultimate results? What was the objective? For instance, this time around, there's an objective with respect to greening Ghana.
Yes.
2 years to come, on next year, when we come and sit down and talk, what was the terms of reference? What was the objective that was set? Have we been able to achieve it? How much resources was allocated when it comes to greening Ghana? How was that money used? Was it used expeditiously, or people decided to divert that money? And this is the only way that I believe that we'll be able to achieve that results of greening Ghana. Because for me, I think that some of the things that we are witnessing recently in Qatar, results were in the past when there was this, tidal waves and what have you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you noticed that it's inching closer to the results. I'm making reference to Aboriginal resort and what have recently.
I mean, the water is getting
exactly.
Wow.
Right. Recently they erected some nice, summer hut and what have you. And all of a sudden, it has never happened before. The sea is getting closer and it's destroying it. And because of the activities. So we should be mindful. Anytime we are talking about, I think we have not also been able to think well when it comes to our basic level. See, George, there's one reason why the Bible talks about the fact that teach the children the way they should go. And when they grow, they will not depart from it.
Yes.
How have we effectively impacted in our kids, I'm talking about those in basic school, to appreciate the importance of the environment, to appreciate the significance of having trees? Have we been able to do that? If we are able to do that, I believe that students themselves will be so excited to engage in an activity that compels them to plant trees, because they appreciate the importance of it. If we are able to do that, we'll be able to achieve the ultimate and ensure that Ghana will be referenced when it comes to the greening environment and what have you.
Okay. Pagwe.
George.
Green Ghana Day.
Our government is always seeking to set right examples in this country. Our government is always seeking to profess solutions, tangible, lasting solutions that generations will come and name a tree and say that this tree was planted during the regime of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
It is only a wise leader who plants trees for generations to have shade. It's only a wise leader. And I want to say thank you to President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the leadership of the Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor. He's a very hard-working man. I'm sure you admire him. Many Ghanaians admire him. He works very, very hard. And to see that over the years,
a young man too.
Of course, it's a young man. We didn't have this.
We didn't have what?
We didn't have green in Ghana. We didn't have planting of trees.
Well, over the years, we planted trees.
Let's be real.
We didn't have green in Ghana, fair enough, but tree planting has been something that has been part of us as a country.
The number of trees we have planted, the seedlings we have planted, the survival rates over the years. Even now, children are always watering their seeds that they planted years ago. And it's encouraging to see this act of patriotism within the greening environment. I want to commend government and my government for continually ensuring that we are keeping to our promises that we make to the Ghanaian people and also the promises that we make to the international community. We went for COP27 in Scotland and did one in Cairo, and continually we are ensuring that climate change and the effects of climate change and creation care will leave a better creation for the generation and the generation unborn.
Oh.
Yes, you have seen that these tree plantings that have been done, 23 million seedlings and trees that have matured and nurtured and all of that, you see very clearly that the efforts and drives that came against the deforestation, the trees that have been falling over the years, is being replaced gradually.
Oh.
And so I would encourage the Ghanaian people to continually put themselves into this, come to the 9th of June, and ensure that...
has the government actually paid the companies that provide the seedlings?
George,
for the previous one.
Look at where you are going
to.
It's
just a question.
Look at where you are going to.
No, that's because it came out that the producers actually came out saying that they've not been paid.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, Patrice. You've not heard that?
I haven't heard that.
Where they quoted the figure?
I did
when they quoted the figure?
I did hear that there was some outstanding and some payments.
Exactly.
Yes.
When they quoted the figure, the government said, no, that figure is just not it. But the government acknowledged that.
Once you have not heard from them again, it means that it's been taken care of.
No,
so
but that cannot be the conclusion.
Let's take it that it's been taken care of. But let's also encourage the Ghanaian people to go and then plant seedlings. And I'm encouraged to see these reports that have come. And I'm sure that even in this year, we'll achieve the target that we so want to see.
You don't find this disturbing that we are actually planting trees and there are some people out there destroying our forest?
Oh, I find it a concern.
Yeah.
That people are doing so.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that it will become a thing of the past, because you see, the Forestry Commission is always ensuring that within the reserves of the country, people are not destroying the forest reserves.
But they're still there, people are doing it.
Yes, and the Forestry Commission is there to make sure that people don't do that.
But people are doing it.
No, the Forestry Commission is there to make sure people don't do that.
People are doing it.
No, the Forestry Commission is there to make sure people don't do that. And so I'm in no doubt in my mind that these tree planting efforts that our government has put in place has become a legacy and a lasting one as such for the Ghanaian people.
Okay, all right. The program is the Weekly Press Review. We are live on GBC News. We are also live on GTV. We are live on Facebook, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We're selecting stories that made news for this particular week and running with them. I guess I have Pagriv Wachidankwa, who is a government spokesperson on governance and security, and Delali Sowokpo, who is a member of the NDC communication team. We've looked at two issues so far, illegal mining and then Green Ghana. Let's move to our third one. NCA forensic audits to weed out fraudulent SIM registration. The National Communication Authority will conduct regular forensic audits of the system of mobile network operations to ensure that all subscribers' identification cards which have not been delinked from their database for non-compliance with the SIM card registration process are not fraudulently restored. And then as we speak, presently there are about 36.57 million active SIMs, and also they are made up of 25.4 million active SIMs, representing 69.6% of the total SIM cumulative record and register. There are those that have completed stage 1 and stage 2, and a total of 11.1 million SIMs, representing 30.4%, have however been exempted from the exercise until May ending. So I'm sure by the time this week actually ends into the weekend, if you have not done that, you are going to be in a very big problem. That means that your data or your SIM card will be delinked from the database. Now, concerns are still rife about those who are yet to receive their Ghana card and therefore are not in a position to register their SIMs according to the laid down procedure. But Mr. Anoche, who is with the NCA and he's the Director General of the National Communication Authority, gave an assurance that those category of persons would be restored or will be sorted out. Actually, he says subscribers who did not have the Ghana card will only have to prove that to prevent their SIMs from being deactivated. He added that only new SIM cards will be registered from June 1 this year, and by which time all SIMs which are active but unregistered will be deactivated. Pagriff, we'll start with Stretch with you then.
So George,
yes, sir.
See that we've been on a journey with this SIM card registration, and very clearly in government's efforts to ensure that we streamline the digital space and the digital platform and the digital economy. We're ensuring that
whoever has a SIM card is registered to himself and also linked to the Ghana card, because it's an entire value chain.
Yes.
I must commend the NCA for trying to move away from these fraudulent people who are within the system and try to clean them up. And so these are very strong steps in the right direction. The SIM card registration has been ongoing since 2021. The earlier data that we had from the very beginning stated that we are close to about 44 million SIM cards in this country, which clearly means that the number of SIM cards we had at the time is more than the population of the country. In recent times, it's even very clear that there is 36 million plus SIM cards, active SIM cards. It's even still more than the population of the country. It means that there are still more people who have SIM cards in this country. And particularly the 25 million SIM cards that have been registered and linked to the Ghana card is very unique. And we must encourage a lot more of that, because our country is getting to a stage in terms of data and data science and data gathering and the data season, to ensure that once your Ghana card is linked, we can be able to find you and trace you wherever you are. So for people that have not registered their SIM cards, it's a strong encouragement for them to make sure that they adhere to these directives. I have friends, Ghanaians, who live outside the country, who have SIM cards who they use for WhatsApp because they want to keep their lines active. I would encourage them to immediately get in touch with NCA and the mobile operating network and make sure that their SIM cards are registered very duly, so that we can be able to clean up a lot more of the mess within the system and sanitize the system. So this is a very good step in the right direction, and would encourage the media to help with the advocacy and the education, so that we will be able to make sure that the system is sanitized accurately.
All right, Delali.
All right. So this issue about SIM card registration, obviously this is not the first time we are hearing it. There have been series of deadlines. I mean, emanating from the Minister for Communication.
Yeah.
I think what is basically happening is there seems to be a clear disconnection between the minister, the ministry, NCA, and the telcos.
What's the disconnection?
Because you see, obviously, I mean, it's the telcos that are responsible when it comes to registration of SIM card. And sometimes there are instances that you have the ministry giving a certain directive without taking into consideration whether even the telcos are ready or not. You also have an instances where NCA take a certain instructions or directive from the ministry, and it more or less like everything is being done in a rushy way. That is why we've not been able to really, as a matter of fact, have a proper timeline when it comes to registration of SIM cards. For instance, there were instances where Ghanaians will have to queue. I mean, when you go to places, you see this long queue where Ghanaians have to go through difficulties in registering their SIM card. Because there's been a lot of pressure. There's been a communique with respect to the fact that once you don't register your SIM card, you'll be disconnected. And Ghanaians obviously has also become this culture of last minute sort of a thing.
Unfortunately.
And I feel that ultimately it's the telcos that register the SIM card. The NCA is more or less like playing that regulatory role. We have a ministry that has an oversight responsibility with respect to what happened in the telecommunication and what they call the sector. And sometimes, what I mean by that, sometimes you read even a communication coming from the ministry, and you read a communication coming from the telco, so you see a certain level of discrepancies, that there's lack of cohesion between the ministry, between the NCA, and even the telcos. So the only way, and whenever there's this, you know, this confusion or this sort of misunderstanding between the regulators, the ministry, the telcos, it's obviously the citizens that suffer the brunt of it or the consequence of it. I just feel and hope that this time around, I mean, there's going to be a smooth relationship in terms of communication between the ministry, the telcos, and the regulators. So that at the end of the day, we'll still not come back here and be discussing about this issue. And you know, recently, I read today where I think I don't know whether it's coming from the Ministry of Communication, where there's a short code, star 402 star 1 hash, basically meant for people to detect whether somebody have used their SIM card, right, to register for their details to register for another person. Yeah. It took a journalist, when people have made series of complaints, that once you go and register your SIM, your details are being taken to register for other people's SIM. That is why sometimes when you walk to these people who are SIM vendors, and you say, oh, I want to buy a SIM card, they can sell it to you without you going through the processes, because they have SIM card that has already been registered.
So they use someone's Ghana card to register multiples of SIM cards.
And so that is when the telcos and even the ministry and the NCA became conscious of the fact that indeed there's an instances where somebody's detail have been used to register SIM for another person.
Yes.
Because the essence of registering this SIM card, using your fingerprint, connecting it to Ghana card, is to keep down these fraudulent activities, crime, to the extent that it's easy for you to detect when somebody have used national identification card details to transact a business or to engage in an activity, so that they'll be able to trace what they call it, the culprits or the perpetrators of fraudulent activities and what have you. So when you have an instance where I sit out here, I know that I've gone to what they call the telco to go and register my SIM card. They have used my SIM card, as we were being told allegedly. They have used my details to register somebody else's SIM card. And people who normally want to use somebody else's detail to register their SIM card are people who are always engaged in certain fraudulent activities.
True.
So imagine the person used my SIM card to perpetrate fraud. What eventually means that if the police pick that person's details or the SIM card details and go to the telcos and extract an information relative to the information that was used in registering that SIM card, then it will mean that IIegal was the one who perpetrated that crime. So I think that, you see, there's no need. George, you see, there's absolutely no dignity in rushing to crash. There's no dignity in that. Because you see, in all this, you are dealing with a very sensitive matter. It's better for us to have it right. It doesn't matter how long it takes, than for us to rush and go and crash. Because the ripple effect of rushing the telcos to do certain things that they are not ready, in some years to come, we will see the adverse effects of rushing the telcos to undertake a certain process when they are not ready to undertake it. So it's good for us to register SIM card, but I'm just hoping and praying that it will be done in such a way that that element of civility, where respect for one another, respect for an institution, will be seen, where the ministry will be able to deal with the telcos in a very civilized manner, to the extent that it will not be about, I'll show you where power lies. Because if you continue to, create that posture that I'll show you where power lies, you might not end up having the result that you intend to have. And ultimately, we'll still go back and we'll come and sit down here and be discussing about deadline.
But some of us too are also stubborn. Some Ghanaians are also stubborn.
Absolutely, like I told you. Like I told you.
They just find it difficult to actually register. We'll pick to our final stretch and then we can call it a day. Now, a native of Winneba in the central region, born in Cape Coast on September 11, 1962, and had a O-levels at the IIegal Senior High School and A-level at Achimota School. She's an alumni of the University of Ghana and a graduate from the Ghana School of Law. That was in June 1986. In 2001, she obtained a postgraduate diploma in international law, an organization from the International Institute of Social Studies, part of Erasmus University in the Netherlands, and further graduated from the Golden Gate University in the United States in 2011 with an LLM in intellectual property law. From January 1997 to 2004, she was a managing partner at Sozo Law Consults and became the Justice of the High Court from May 2004 to October 2012. She was appointed to the Court of Appeal from October 2012 to 2019, when she was elevated to the Supreme Court. Now, she was part of the 7-member panel of the highest court of the land that unanimously dismissed the 2020 election petition filed by former President John Dramani Mahama challenging the 2020 election victory of President Akufo-Addo. I'm referring to the Justice Gertrude Esaba Saki Tokonu, who is the Chief Justice nominated to take over from the current Chief Justice, who will be retiring in May. Paragraph. Another Chief Justice.
All well and good. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is active in governance, making sure that all forms of governance within the Ghanaian sector, from the executive to the legislature and judiciary, are taken care of. I want to congratulate the new Chief Justice,
She's not been,
whose name has been sent to the Council of State. Well, obviously it's a process, but it's still a congratulatory one.
Well,
yes. You don't want me to congratulate the Justice, Mrs. Gertrude?
No, I'm not saying she's not the Chief Justice yet.
Yes, but then the Chief Justice, yes, but I congratulate her on her nomination.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yes, that's fair.
We are friends on that level. John, today is Friday, so we have to be good friends.
I know.
So I congratulate Justice Tokonu, the Chief Justice nominee. To be fair, she served over 19 years in the judicial service, 4 years at the Supreme Court, with a very well experience. I'm glad with the profile that you read, very clearly and confidently. You can see that she's the right woman for the job. I would wish her the best. I wish the Council of State the best in advising the President. I wish her the best through the vetting processes in Parliament, and finally to her assumption of office. Whilst at that, I would also want to congratulate the incumbent Chief Justice, Justice Enim Yeboah, for his outstanding, astute work within the judicial service. I think that the Ghanaian people are grateful for his service to the country. And George, you are aware that our president, as a lawyer, has taken a very keen interest in the judicial service.
Okay.
With the number of courts that have been built, with accommodation, with road tooling, we have done excessively well. And no other government has
with the pulling down of judges' residence.
George, this.
Oh no, but you are listed, so I'm also giving you.
I'm listing all the
I'm also
things
giving you, the pulling out of judges that has been.
I have no doubt in my mind that she will do excellently well for our country. The president is doing what is mandated constitutionally by him to do, and I'm sure that Madam will serve as well.
Yes, usually face a lot of criticism. Sometimes reports of corruption, when it's being released, you find them in there and all that. So what kind of reforms like this would one expect from her in this particular area?
I'm certain that women have a very unique skill and unique drive and ability in ensuring that right things are done.
Men also have say.
Well, both, yes.
Men also have say.
Of course. I'm not being gender insensitive, but I'm also trying to let you know of the things that we have learned of women in leadership.
Okay.
Whose leadership acumen has come to bear. I'm sure that she'll put in a lot of reforms. Continue from where Justice Enim Yeboah left off. And her reforms will go down in history in the interest of the Ghanaian people. So I wish her the best, and the best to the judicial service.
Salary, Justice Gertrude Saba, Saki Tokonu.
For me, I want to associate myself with my brother to congratulate her on her nominee. It's really not an easy thing. To be elevated to occupy the highest office as a Supreme Court judge. What it basically means is for the next 9 or 10 years before she attains the age of 70, she will play a very critical role when it comes to our judicial system or justice delivery system in this country. Just have to take it from where you posed a question, and it's not even a question. You made a comment with respect to the fact that for some years now, let's admit it doesn't matter which of the political divide you are coming from. The judiciary has come under a lot of scrutiny. The judiciary has come under a lot of bashing. And the records with respect to the judiciary relative to even Ghanaians' perception as far as the judiciary is concerned, I don't think it's a pleasant one. In recent Afro Barometer, where Ghanaians' views were solicited relative to the confidence Ghanaians have as far as state institutions are concerned. I don't think the judiciary did excellently well. I think the mark that they score, it's not a mark that is encouraging. It doesn't inspire confidence in our judicial system. And I think that for somebody who has also gone through, have a 90-year period within the judiciary, have really averted her mind related to some of the negatives that has characterized our judicial system. And I believe one of the things that she must do as soon as possible is to purge the judiciary of some of this lack of confidence and allegations of selling of justice is for only the highest bidder. This issue about, the law, in as much as it talks about nobody is above the law, equality before the law. Ghanaians feel that it's something that exists in theory. But when it comes to the practicality of it, they don't believe that that is what it is. So the new nominee, I know she will be, the president have written to the Council of State, which, all of us have to admit that the Council of State will obviously give the president the backing. She will appear before the August House, and she'll be interviewed or
go through the vetted process,
by the MPs. I believe by now people might have been sending certain questions or petitions to, if indeed there's any, to the August House for her to be questioned on. For me, I wish her all the best. I'm one person who is gender biased. I think that
you're gender biased.
Exactly. I think that
towards women.
Women, yeah.
Why?
I think that we've come to a point that they have to play a very critical role.
But they are playing a critical role.
I think just like the proverbial liver twist, you always ask for more.
So far, this the third woman.
Is it the third?
The third from
okay.
Georgina Wood, Sophia Kufu.
So I believe that once again, she must be able to vindicate the trust some of us have in women, that indeed she's capable, and like I said, by the time she's done with her tenure, let history be written, or let Ghanaians remember her for the change and the radical change that she's going to bring to the judiciary. So I'll use this opportunity and wish her all the best.
So you are looking for some bit of reforms within that corruption
Absolutely.
space,
for instance,
perceived corruption.
Exactly,
actually.
and even beyond that, we have an instances when you go to our prisons. There are a number of people who are basically on remand, right? Because they have nobody to speak for them. They have, and that is quite terrible. That is quite terrible, and that's why I'm saying that there are a lot of reforms that I believe that having understudy Madam Georgina Wood, other Supreme Court, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, having understudy soon to be her predecessor, there are certain things that I believe she has picked up, and I want to also say that over the years, a lot of people, like I said, their confidence in the judiciary has been eroded, and it behoves on her to be able to re-establish the confidence in the judiciary. It's becoming like the judiciary is becoming so predictable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now it is. That is
referring to their rulings or what?
I'm saying that it's easy for ordinary Ghanaians to sit there and say, I can predict the outcome of this case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm saying that when that predictability is established within the minds of the Ghanaian populace, I don't think it's augur well for the image of the judiciary. So my only unsolicited advice is for her to pay the judiciary of all this, unfortunate opinion and perception that people have as far as the judiciary is concerned. So I wish you all the best.
Okay, all right. Like I said, this is the third woman that will be occupying that position. We had Georgina Wood, we had Sophia Kufu, and then this particular one, and Justice IIegal will be retiring until the 24th of May of this year, and then subsequently, if she goes through vetting and then gets the final approval coming from Parliament, she'll become the third female Chief Justice. I'm wondering what's with Wesley Girls. Fagri, if you know what's with Wesley Girls? Some are playing the Wesley Girls card too here,
Oh, she went to Wesley Girls?
Yeah, she went to Wesley Girls.
Well, I think that is it's a very good Methodist.
The wiggy thing,
Methodist is a very good church, and the society has done extremely well. Wesley Girls has done well, but I think that all schools have done well. Yeah.
All right, we'll call it a wrap. Let me get a final thoughts from all of you, then we can just say goodbye. Daddy, your final words.
For me, I think issue about the environment is dear to, personally, is dear to my heart. I believe a lot of people are also interested in how we protect our environment. I have to submit with all sincerity that the present posture, his actions and inactions, has really not helped in fighting the Galamsey menace.
Okay.
The president should not whitewash the individuals or more or less downplay the names that have been mentioned as far as the report is concerned. The president must know that history and posterity is there to judge each and every one of us. Let it not be said 20 years or 10 years to come that Ghana once upon a time had a president who presided over a group of people who were basically destroying our environment, and the president basically did nothing about it. The president must also at least purge himself of this posture that anytime any of his appointees is cited to have engaged in any form of scandal, the president is so quick to either issue a statement through his own pronouncement, sort of exonerate his appointees before even they are subjected, before any state institution for an investigation. The report is so damning. The report does not speak well about the presidency. The report, obviously, to put it bluntly, in a plain language, the report sought to indicate that the presidency has a huge contribution factor when it comes to the current devastating nature of our environment. The President of the Republic of Ghana, for once, disappoints some of us who think that you have become so predictable by clearing your corrupt or appointees, by making sure that individuals mentioned in this damning report are dealt with.
Okay.
So that at the end of the day, this tag that the president has become a corruption clearing agent, at least for once, Ghanaians will say, okay, the president have taken an action. That sought to eradicate or erode that particular perception. So I think that the environment is very important.
Okay.
As we speak, I listened to the PR of the Ghana Water Company.
Yes.
He said they are spending a lot of money in treating our water, the water that we drink. And very soon, it doesn't matter whether you live in a Galamsey community or not. The resultant effects of these Galamsey activities, all of us will become victims of it.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Margaret. Your final words that we can wrap.
George, I don't want to deliver the point that the president is exonerated from all allegations in the Frimpong Boateng reports that has circulated widely. And also to state that Monday is Labour Day, to wish all workers the best. The President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the leadership of government, you are aware, have even increased workers' salary by 30%. And so we wish all hard-working
and there's been introduction of taxes that actually takes away that 30%.
You don't want me when you was
no, I'm just saying.
You don't want
no,
me
I'm just saying.
You don't want me to give my last. These remarks. These remarks are very encouraging remarks to the Ghanaian working public, to remind them of the good work that President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is doing. You are interjecting. Monday is a public holiday. It's a Labour Day. We would want to wish all Ghanaian workers the best. The government appreciates your efforts and your work and your sacrifices in making sure that this country moves forward. We want to assure you that this government and the leadership of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo would continually take the plights and concerns of the Ghanaian working public class and civil servants very, very seriously.
Okay.
So we wish you the best and a happy Labour Day in advance.
I'm just saying that yes, there's been an increase in there, but at least power is going up.
Yours is to hope.
Power is going up.
And now you have become part of the penalty.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just providing information.
I was giving the final remarks.
I'm just providing information.
Your information is trying to water down what I said.
Thank you very much, and I wish you guys all the best. Have a lovely weekend. All right, and you too. Take good care of yourself. This program will be back same time next week. I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.